Welcome, everybody. This is Denny with Get Wisdom, and Carl's joining me today. We're going to continue our channeling series that we've been doing for quite a while now. And we're glad you joined us today. Today is kind of an important one. A little bit of trepidation on our part for Carl and myself. I'll speak for Carl a little bit here because we don't, like Carl says, we don't want to burst anyone's bubble. But if we find out something that can ultimately help people, that's the spirit in which this is delivered. So today, Carl is going to channel Carla Rueckert, who was the person who was a channeler and largely responsible for bringing forth what's known as the Law of One material. So Carl's going to channel her today, and I do want to read a kind of a lengthy introduction just so that we can get our bearings here about who this person is, who she allegedly channeled, and what resulted from that series of channeling. And this is from years and years ago. But before I start on that, I want to welcome Carl, give Carl an opportunity to say a few words, and then I'll come back with the introduction and we'll get started. So thank you so much, Carl, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Denny, and thanks to all of you for watching this. I do have some trepidation about this one, and it's because I don't like confrontation. I don't like being an naysayer. I don't like being a critic. I don't like being a policeman. But again and again in my work, in my research, as I've explored spiritual origins of things and source material, presumed source material, and looked at what others are doing and the leaders and the gurus and particularly channelers and the information that they bring forth, again and again, when I go to Creator and ask about it, whether it's authentic, whether it's uncorrupted, or whether it might in fact be coming from an imposter of some sort, I find out all too often that that is the case, that the material is really an attempt to kind of keep the channeler happy that they're getting something and it sounds wonderful, and it may be wonderful. It may be divine wisdom that's brought through, because there's lots that's been on record all through history from many sources. But it's often recycled and served back more as kind of pablum, just some encouragement with inspiring words and lofty thoughts that really seem to be real and important, and they're fresh to the ears of the listener, and they pass muster. But the problem is it something that is actionable, that can change lives, and in particular, truly heal people? I mean, it's all well and good to get encouragement, but if you can't heal an open wound or a long-standing karmic history of dishevelment that is really weighing you down, you're not being served with what you truly need. We need to heal our way to enlightenment, not just be given the keys to the kingdom and some shiny words and some encouragement and some affirmations or whatever it might be, that all we need to do is raise our sights and think happy, and boom, we're going to just blossom back into light being status here in the physical. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
okay.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings ever, but it's time we have to grow up. We have to begin to see what's true and what might not be, and become more mature and steel ourselves to this reality that we have lots of work to do here, and it's not going to be handed to us. It's work we have to do. We have to participate and initiate. Right. And if you're not getting that kind of information from would-be divine level sources, it's likely not authentic, or you're not ready to hear it yet. One of those two things. But It's a red flag.
All right. Okay, so No, I think that's a good way to set the stage for this, because I know that the Law of One material has a lot of like serious followers and people who have probably benefited from exposure to the information and stuff. So
People love it.
Yeah, and this isn't a witch hunt or something. It's just it's a correction, and it's a clarification, and but we're actually going to give Carla Rueckert as a light being the final say on the matter. So we've got 9 questions that we're going to ask today, and in preparation, I want to go ahead and read this. And this is from the International Medical Physical University. It's a biography on the late Carla Rueckert. She was born in 1943. She passed in 2015. She's the world-famous channeler of the Law of One material, otherwise known as the Ra material. Carl Rueckert-McCarty, a Christian mystic and librarian by training, formed a partnership in 1968 with Don Elkins, a physics professor and commercial airline pilot, to begin a serious and systematic investigation into UFO phenomenon. This partnership grew into the nonprofit organization based in Louisville, Kentucky, that exists to this day, known as L/L Research, short for Love Light Research. As the 60s came to a close, Don and Carla's investigations into UFOs led them to information allegedly obtained by means of telepathic contact with beings that were on Earth that we would consider ETs. From this point forward, the nature of their research began to shift from the outer evidence of the UFO phenomenon, in other words, abductees, physical evidence of UFOs, eyewitness accounts, etc., to the purely spiritual dimension of UFOs' messages and purpose. Using information detailing how to achieve and sustain telepathic contact, what we would nowadays call channeling, they developed and refined their own set of protocols in order to begin receiving channeled messages from these UFO entities. From that time to the present day, the positively oriented information received has been unwaveringly concerned with humankind's metaphysical situation with regard to the potentials of the Earth illusion for facilitating spiritual evolution. These sources speak of a unified creation wherein all is one, all is the creator, and the seeker's journey is one of knowing the self, accepting the self, and becoming the creator. Carla began this type of channeling in 1974 and continued up until 2011, when a major back surgery caused her to put her channeling on hold during her prolonged recovery. After her passing in 2015, LL Research, led by her husband Jim McCarty, took up the torch and continues the channeling experiment into the present day. From 1974 to the time of this writing, LL Research has recorded, transcribed, and made freely available every channeling on their website, www.llresearch.org. I think I'm going to close there. This is very long. I will put the link to this short bio on the description for this video so you can read the rest if you want. But that gives you an idea, kind of like the basis of the background of Carla's work, and there's also YouTube videos and stuff on her too. So it's not a secret. This stuff is easily researched, and the books are available. They may even be online now. I think that all that is online, and a lot of people have researched this material. So with that, if there's anything else you'd like to comment on, Carl, let's go ahead and do it, and then we get started. It's probably going to be a long session with 9 questions.
Okay, well, I think I'll just describe what I'm going to do and what I attempt to do that sets this apart from most others doing channeling. And that is, I do take steps to get in a certain frame of consciousness to facilitate the intuitive link. But I do it through Creator of all it is. I go to Creator to ask to be connected by Creator to my target and to keep safety around the work. So there is not interference and there is authenticity. And most channelers aren't doing that. They're naive and they think if they're going up to a high source that automatically is going to be safe to do and would be protected, in fact, especially going to a divine being. But but even someone in the light is in the divine realm. So the same rules and opportunities apply. The question is, do you have the reach? Will you fall short? And if you're not in good standing spiritually with Creator and feeling a partnership, the divine cannot grant extra latitude for you because you're not asking for it. It's just the same with any aspect of safety in life. If you don't ever think about the divine and you just do an ordinary day of living, there are many hazards. There are accidents that befall many, and there are criminals roaming about, and all sorts of things can take place, mistakes, and errors of judgment, and so on. And you're at risk. But you can get some divine assistance, divine support, and divine protection if you ask directly. And that is the challenge for us. And the big message humanity probably most needs to know, that God is real, God's alive and well, God is within us, sharing our experience with us. But mostly as a silent partner, because we don't expect God to sort of speak up and make its presence known. And by and large, it cannot do that. And part of the reason is it doesn't want to overshadow you. It doesn't want to push out in front. And then what'll happen is you'll start to defer to that other source of wisdom and so on. And then that becomes disempowering. So this is a fine dance that we're doing with the Almighty, but we're also corrupted to be held back and not be able to connect well and hear feedback. And that is a corruption. We should be able to do that. It should be very straightforward, but it isn't. So I will tune into Creator and ask to be connected to her consciousness in the light. And then she will announce her presence when she's made that connection.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
This is Carla Rueckert speaking.
Thank you for joining us. Were you in need of a spirit rescue? Can you tell us about your passing and your transition to the light?
The long and short of it was I didn't make the transition immediately. And this was something I was wholly unprepared to do, in fact, and unprepared for the consequences. And it was also in a state of impairment because, in a sense, when you pass from the physical body, you are separated then from your normal way of sensing things and your normal way of thinking things. And what I had was then a more nebulous, intuitive level of the deep mind, but not my usual faculties as a conscious awareness and observer and thinker. And as a result, I was quite vulnerable. And I was immediately surrounded and attacked by harsh voices taunting me, wanting me to suffer, mocking, treating me with derision, poking fun, and attempting to shame me, and taunting me about my plight, about where did my body go, and what will you do now? And who did you ever think you were to begin with? and holding up all my faults for inspection and mockery. This was unrelenting, and it was impossible to avoid, to tune it out. It is very much like having a gang of opponents surrounding you, standing inches away and shouting at you with the most vile invective, the stream of criticism and a vicious kind of hatred that was quite apparent and extremely menacing. I understand now this was done for effect, to truly terrorize me, as this would simply create an energy demand within. And that was their personal primary goal, to siphon away some of that energy for themselves. So it is much like beating a near dead horse so you can make a little further journey at its expense, and not caring what the animal feels, but only wanting that little further progress if you can force it from the animal. This, I also know, was retribution and punishment, because I was different as a person in being a seeker and wanting truth and wanting to help fellow human beings. This marked me for special attention and a kind of reprisal to be sure I would be treated in this way, and to be sure I was watched over and pounced on when the opportunity came to put me directly in the path of these beings with no lifeline in sight. This is the consequence of being overwhelmed and traumatized. It is very hard to stand strong. It is very hard to look beyond the immediate torment of such a situation and be in any shape to recognize a rescuer should one come. And in reviewing what happened, I was shown how many representatives came from the light, attempting to connect to me, to give me the opportunity to generate some hope within. But I was unable to see them and recognize them for who they were. And because of that incapacity, they were powerless to step in the middle and shift things in my favor. This is an object lesson that can serve for many other individuals, to know that the burden is always on you to know what you are about, to know enough about truth and the way of things, to understand what to expect, even after death, will put you in a position of power in the strength of that awareness and knowledge that you must reach for the light with your expectations and summon it actively. That will set the stage for a successful and glorious transition of growing magnificence and a showering of love upon you. All that was denied to me until I received the spirit rescue that you did for me. And that was the key for my passage to heaven in a quite literal sense. You belong back with Creator and your light being family when you pass on. If you fail to make that full transition to that higher plane of existence, you will be trapped in these lower realms. And this is the realm of the dark ones, and they will prey on you. You can expect that will happen unless you prepare and create the safeguard of inner knowing that you are part of a divine family. You are loved and cherished and will be raised up and will be met with a welcoming committee. At the same time, you have the power to prevent that yourself through having a focus on dark doings, on low energy and emotional suffering and disarray. That will not be compatible with a divine outreach, and you will become vulnerable and will, in effect, become your own worst enemy, because some energy and effort is always required to make a link. And that is true in life as well. So I was set up for this to happen by being complacent, by trusting in my own ability and my own sense of self, and a feeling of greatness within that was, in the end, more an illusion than a reality. And when met with such a harsh contrast, I had nowhere to turn. My defenses crumbled quickly, and there was nothing else to turn to. I was mindful of. And that is the price one pays in drifting too far away from awareness of the true divine, and knowing that a partnership is not only possible, it is important for well-being, for safety, as well as growth and the enlightenment so many yearn to have.
Okay, thank you. Now that you are a light being again, what can you tell us about the entities that contacted you and gave you the transmission that became the Law of One? Are these the Confederation entities that you spoke of?
Unfortunately, with a direct question, we must give a direct answer. And much as we would like to spare all who trusted in us and looked to us for guidance, appreciated what we were trying to do, and found comfort and inspiration in the words we brought forth, we must tell you that this was a campaign of propaganda and misdirection. It was entirely coming from extraterrestrial origins, but not by lofty beings, by truly low-level beings in the physical. These were extraterrestrial psychics, and these are the beings that interface with almost all channelers, pretending to be something they are not, pretending to be what the channeler is desiring to connect with and to hear from. This creates a very malignant and insidious relationship. built on trust extended from the human side and then fully exploited from the extraterrestrial side for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, to keep people complacent and subjugated, and to receive a kind of comforting that is harmless in its consequences, but gives a false sense of security for the humans hearing the information. And that serves to keep them out of mischief. It is much like putting soothing music into the environment of a psychiatric ward. It helps keep people soothed and calm and less likely to give in to their inner fears and dark impulses, because the very environment is broadcasting an energy and atmosphere of calm and elegance and a feeling of being untroubled and a feeling of upliftment. That is quite easy to do when there is a showcase that has all the trappings of receiving a high level prophetic announcement from superior beings. Many yearn for guidance, many yearn for salvation. And this is a scenario that is mined again and again and again by the extraterrestrials who are suppressing humanity. The source of all the information I channeled was coming from physical Anunnaki psychics who are highly telepathic and whose role in life is to scan the wavelengths for human outreaches coming from channelers, coming from natural intuitives, seeking something from beyond. There are two levels to what happens. The most common by far is to simply take notice of these individuals and earmark them for a kind of follow-up to see what they are all about and whether they pose any immediate threat to the Dark Alliance that is in true control of things. In most cases, they are simply not succumbing to the suppression that is widespread and relentless to keep people complacent and not using their native intelligence and intuitive reach in order to learn and to explore things. The very few who are seeking a direct contact and a kind of dialogue will be elevated to a primary position in the priority and will be given handholding by an Anunnaki psychic who will create a persona that suits the desires of the human doing the outreach, with a backstory and an explanation of why they are present and very much wanting to talk with that human. And it will be a message that is one of interest, appreciation for who they are and what they are all about, one of encouragement, and one of very much wanting to establish a working relationship. This cements the bond, and in effect, it opens the door to further manipulation, which always follows. There's nothing about these kinds of communications that is uplifting and helpful in the final end consequences. Along the way, there can be great inspiration and encouragement proffered by the voice from beyond, but it will be a cover for something deeper going on, a deeper level of intrusion and manipulation. That was done to me directly. So at the same time, I made contact and was elated and extremely excited at the prospect of being able to tap a motherlode of high-level knowledge about the workings of the universe and who might be out and about, who can help humanity. The thought of being in a position to convey such important knowledge was extremely flattering and appealing to my being on multiple levels. And it caused me to abandon caution. And I was unprepared to be a skeptic, foolishly thinking that I could trust my own judgment and my own sensibilities, the feeling within my heart, for example, as the best guide. And all the time did not appreciate that the extraterrestrials who manipulate everyone are way, way ahead of us, because they have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. Just like in dealing with a dog, they know how to pet us. They know how to speak to us. They know how to rub our tummies and make our tails wag. And we come away loving them. This is a level of naivete and a reflection of the fact we are spiritual beings and love-based beings and are all yearning for love and yearning for a closer connection with something above, something beyond ourselves. That is the basic spiritual yearning of all humans who are disconnected from the divine. And the mistake many make is to seek non-divine sources to fill that void. That is always a mistake, because the low-level beings that can speak with you and rush in quickly to do so do not have your best interests at heart and want to take you out and take you down.
Okay, thank you. What is the correct and what is the incorrect, or what is correct and what is incorrect about the concept of the harvest as related in the law of one information?
There are many half-truths in all of that channeled material. There is truth in the unity of things. This is a grand truth. It is a divine truth, because all springs from a divine creator, and everything is an extension of consciousness in the matter you see itself, as well as all manifestations of matter in the organization of physical objects the constituents of the planet you reside on, all organisms, whether plant or animal, all have a divine link and all have consciousness inherent within them, because it is consciousness that is the origin and true force underlying all of physics. So this is natural to relate with and to feel in harmony, but is only part of the story. The fact that some are chosen and some are not is an age-old folly that has served the interlopers time and time and time again. Its purpose is not to elevate, not to instruct and raise everyone up, but to begin to put seeds of doubt in place, to cause a kind of separation. So those better informed, those who are in the know, begin to feel superior and separate, and then want naturally their own safety, their own advancement, and may not devote themselves to raising up others, but to be more and more complacent, thinking they have life figured out and they can stand down in a sense and feel there is nothing more for them to do except bide their time and enjoy life as best they can, that things will be taken care of for them and not by them. This is the great folly in all such teachings that come forth from similar origins. It is a recurring plot theme used again and again and again to create some kind of enterprise where a certain amount of learning opportunity is offered, but ends up being more of a trap to create a sort of holding pen for like-minded individuals, thinking that now they are among their brethren, they are in the know, and there is nothing more to do but enjoy their exalted status and their grand achievements in learning the great truths and being on the right path to move onward and upward. All of this is a sham, because true progress comes from healing and expressing the soul on multiple levels for the self and all around the self. There needs to be a balance of give and take. So there is a sharing and there is a true progress of unity, that it's one through fellowship and in reaching that goal, working through those things that are divisive. This is the greatest of human challenges, to face and overcome the limitations, the prejudices, the old hurts and resentments, and the fear of the new, the natural instinct to be wary of something that is different, those who differ from oneself, not members of one's clan, and so forth. Those divisions have been used to sow discord for millennia, and that history of conquest and subjugation is deep in the DNA of every living human being, because all have lived through conquests and suppression again and again and again by those holding more power and having an inside source of influence, and often extraterrestrial backing and support to make them the conqueror, at least for a time. What happens eventually is that power will be taken away. They will topple, and someone new will come along to make that happen, and will falsely think they are making progress, and they are chosen ones, and they are now in the premier position to flourish and live in greatness, when in fact they are simply serving as a kind of suppression and a negative force, harming fellow humans to gain personally in the immediate perception, not realizing they are harming their own family and are causing grievous wounds to their own souls. So the material I channeled and brought forth was of great comfort to many, many people. It had the ring of truth. It had many useful divine principles on display, at least portions, and the outlines more so than the depth. And as always, you will find with such material, there is a limit to its utility. It will be things that work if everyone knew about the principles and embraced them and never did anything in contravention. But they will not tell you how to deal with those who stray, those who do not accept the teachings, who may be an active opponent, who may cause active harm in your midst, and to deal with the details and mechanics of living when there is inner discord and serious physical illness and people are at risk of dying or are suffering interminably. What then? You cannot go to such a person with lofty principles and divine precepts and simply say, read this, and you will feel better. That might happen, but it will likely not cure their illness. There is a deeper level of inspection, a deeper level of awareness, and a deeper ability to connect with the divine energy of love and truth that will be needed to come into that person and right the wrongs, and to do so over the course of their history in many cases, not only in the current life, but other lifetimes, all of which is contributing discord in the moment to undermine their body. These are teachings you will not hear about if someone with that awareness and knowledge does approach an imposter through channeling. There will be a recognition of what it means, what it represents, and a story given in how to navigate. But again, it will be a minimal one and will likely not end with any great advances. because that is not desired. The whole purpose of the orchestration of this facade is to limit knowledge and awareness of possibilities. The extraterrestrial beings who control the world can prolong your life far, far beyond its current potential. This they have done for themselves in their own culture. But they will deny that knowledge to you because they do not want you to live. They not only do not want you to have extended lifetimes, they do not want you to have the life you enjoy at the moment and are working to constrain it, to prevent other new life from even forming, and to count the days until they can suppress things further and drag down all of humanity in one final sweeping cataclysmic annihilation. This is not a message that I would have been given in my role as a channeler, because it is the deep secret they harbor. And the reason they do the hand-holding, they want no more intuitive exploration of the future, because the future potential is the dark one they are creating in their planning. They want all of the intuitives focused on messages of encouragement, of sweetness and light and happiness and joyful expectations that are promised and will be in the offing, so people can become excited, and this becomes then a grand distraction, and they will not be looking for trouble. They will not be wandering out of this reservation that has corralled them in a kind of aggregate of like-minded, susceptible audience members. This protects this extraterrestrial alliance working against humanity in collusion with all of the dark spirit realm that infects most humans and corrupts them from within. All of the negativity serves them and is purposeful. It is orchestrated, it is ramped up, encouraged, and everything possible done to extend its influence and worsen things. This is what you are facing. So when you spend your time cultivating joyful thoughts of being embraced by extraterrestrial beings of an advanced history and outlook, you are participating in the charade and the illusion this will be handed to you. It is a false promise in every respect. The benevolent extraterrestrials cannot come here. If they came in the physical, they would be annihilated and would trigger a war that would destroy the world. If they come here intuitively to assist you, they will be violating rules decreed by the creator of all that is. And that rule is one of non-interference in the human enterprise. This is a problem for all of us, those in the physical and in the light, set to return and help again to advance the cause of humanity. It is why you are here. It is why I came, but I was co-opted and sidelined into a false enterprise. And this is dragging me down and dragging all would-be followers of my teachings, and very much to my regret. I am in good company because almost all channel material is falsehoods in the sense of coming from a false prophet of some kind. And while the information may be largely true, when it comes from an evil source, there is evil intent alongside. And the greater evil is the partnership it creates, because that will close you off from the divine realm. If you choose an alliance with darkness on any level, light cannot come to you. It is your choosing. So choose wisely and follow true divine sources. This is not easy. And in fact, today is the greatest of challenges, because all divine teachings have become corrupted down through the ages. But knowing the risks, knowing the reality of what you face, is the first step leading you towards truth and a liberation from this suppression, which has worked all too well throughout human history.
Okay, thank you. So who was or is Ra and Quo?